Hi everyone, it's Katrina. Number 10. The ruins of Malden Island. Far away in the Pacific Ocean is a tiny island called Malden, measuring a measly 15 square miles. The island currently belongs to the Republic of Kiribati, and there is nobody living on it. The only people who ever go to Malden are the occasional visitors by yacht that come to gaze at the mysterious unknown ruins that are found on the island. And of course, the dozens of bird species that stop at the island in the winter during their migration to the south. The island is named after navigator and explorer Lieutenant Charles Robert Malden, who explored it in 1825. Then, an Australian company went to collect bat guano in the 1860s. That stopped by the 1930s, and then the UK showed up to test the H-bomb on the otherwise peaceful island. More recently, archaeologists have been interested in these strange ruins that were first identified by anthropologist Kenneth Emery from the Bishop Museum in Honolulu. It's Emery's theory that these strange remnants of structures on the island were left behind by a small population of Polynesians. He believed the group lived on the island for only a few generations before they vanished. But others believe these structures represent the ruins of a much older lost city. One of the more bizarre discoveries on the island is paved roads leading directly into the sea. If there were only 200 Polynesians living on the island, what in the world would they need roads for? They appear to be the remnants of a much larger system of highways, and similar highways were found on Rarotonga Island 1,000 miles away. There may have been a civilization here, perhaps one far more advanced than the early Polynesians. But unfortunately, their roads lead straight into the ocean, and the ruins of their small city hardly leave any clues. Number 9. Ancient Underground City. A recent archaeological dig in southern Turkey revealed what researchers say is the largest subterranean city on Earth. This could be the most significant discovery of a lost city in modern days. A cave was uncovered in the province of Mardin, leading directly to an underground complex. Researchers found subterranean chapels, silos, water wells, and other hidden structures from the 2nd and 3rd centuries. What's even more shocking is that according to the local director of the Malden Museum, Gani Tarkan, this city was only lost for the last few decades. The underground city was apparently used for 1900 years. It was first built as a hiding place for Christians to take shelter during early religious persecutions. It continued to be used as an underground refuge up until the 20th century. It was in 1923, at the tail end of the Greco-Turkish Wars, that this city was deserted. And it didn't take long before the underground complex was completely forgotten. But the whole place has now been rediscovered less than a century later. Archaeologists are now busy investigating its deep corridors and hidden chambers. Amazingly, they say it could have held at least 70,000 people in its heyday. Number 8. The sunken city of Dwarka. One of the most mysterious lost cities that has recently been discovered is submerged off the coast of India. This city is called Dwarka, and depending on who you ask, it's anywhere between 9,000 and 15,000 years old. This city is so ancient that it was described in the Hindu epic the Mahabharata. Lord Krishna, a revered Indian god, allegedly established the city himself, furnishing it with over 900,000 royal palaces made of emeralds and silver. It was said to be the greatest city in the world, with its design and architecture thousands of years more advanced than the primitive people elsewhere in the world. How much of this is true is anybody's guess. The first underwater excavations of the area were undertaken in 1988 by the Marine Archaeological Unit of India. The team uncovered some artifacts and pottery dating back to the Indus Valley Civilization, but nothing more. It wasn't until recently, with the help of more advanced equipment, that archaeologists started to find sandstone walls, city streets, and sunken structures 70 feet below sea level. These structures have been dated to over 5,000 years before the Indus Valley Civilization. Researchers believe an earthquake triggered a tsunami, resulting in the ancient mythical city being swallowed by the sea. There has been lots of physical evidence found of a sunken city off the coast of modern Dwarka, including pillars and stone blocks. But the exact age of the findings is still highly debated. Some say they simply belong to the Indus Valley civilization, while others claim these structures are evidence of Lord Krishna's shining Emerald City. Number 7. Temple City in the Cambodian jungle. For the past 150 years, archaeologists searched through the Cambodian jungle for the lost city of Mahendra Parvata. The city was believed to have been one of the first capitals of the Khmer Empire. The Khmer ruled over a huge part of Southeast Asia between the 9th and 15th centuries. But for some unknown reason, the city was abandoned, and the new capital of Angkor was built in its place. Over the next few centuries, the ancient city became concealed under the overgrown jungle. Modern archaeologists kept on finding artifacts and evidence of the city's existence, but never the city itself. However, that all changed when a team of international researchers confirmed its location in the Phnom Kulen mountain range in 2012. They have since uncovered over 600 never-before-seen remnants of the Khmer civilization. Shrines, temples shaped like grand pyramids, and unbelievable palaces were discovered by the researchers, all swallowed by the sweltering jungle. Unfortunately, the discovery is so new that we don't have a lot of concrete information. This city was built over 1,000 years ago, and it's so big it will likely take decades for archaeologists to document everything. It's also dangerous to visit because the landscape is still covered in unexploded landmines. The mines were left behind by the savage Khmer Rouge in the late 20th century. Number 6. Pingyao. According to legend, the city of Pingyao was founded over 3,000 years ago in the 9th century BC. It was once the banking capital of China, the ancient equivalent of Wall Street during the Qing dynasty. And while the city was never technically lost, it has been rapidly buried under the modernization of New Pingyao. Its impressive city walls and historic architecture have largely fallen into disrepair and ruin. In the last few decades, unique ancient structures that have been around for thousands of years have been mostly destroyed. The ancient part of the city, meaning the historic part at the core of modern Pingyao, is very small. It's less than 1 square mile, and it's surrounded by a massive city wall that's about 40 feet high. This thing was built 20 feet thick at the top to keep out invaders, and it was secured by 6 gates which could be barred to keep people in or out. But like many modern cities that grew out of ancient capitals, Pingyao is layered. Experts are fairly certain that underneath certain structures of the city are the lost remains of the truly ancient site, the one that really is lost beneath the bricks of the city streets. And now for number 5. But first, I want to give a big shout out to Amelia Ramlow and Francis Steven Peralta. Thanks so much for watching and supporting Origins Explained. If you are new here, be sure to subscribe and join the family. Number 5. The Mayan city of Sakti. After decades of searching, scientists have finally found the lost Mayan city of Sakti. Researchers say it was one of the greatest and most magical places ever built by the Maya, spanning over 100 acres of raw jungle 2,500 years ago. Its population peaked at about 1,000 in the year 750 AD, making it one of the smallest major cities of the Maya Empire. Other cities, such as Tikal, had an estimated 90,000 inhabitants. Researchers in Mexico had been trying to track down the location of the city since 1994, but they always came up short. They knew of its existence and were aware that it was abandoned along with other nearby city-states in the 9th century. But finding its true location proved much more difficult than they'd hoped. No headway was made until a grad student from the University of Pennsylvania tipped off lead researchers Charles Bolden and Andrew Schur. The students learned about a mysterious limestone slab unearthed by a cattle rancher, and that was when the city was finally found. Archaeologists are now celebrating the long-awaited victory. Can you imagine over 20 years looking for something? They used LiDAR drones to reveal the full scope of the lost city, and it was absolutely huge. Since excavations began, archaeologists have found cooking tools, the ancient corpse of a mysterious woman, stone walls, and a stone panel inscribed with stories of ancient wars, floods, and a mysterious water serpent. Number 4. Mardamon. Ruins from the mysterious lost city of Mardamon were recently discovered in northern Iraq. This city dates back 4,800 years to the dawn of human civilization. A group of researchers from the University of Tübingen in Germany have been looking for Mardamon for years. They've been digging and digging, but they only hit gold a little while ago when they came across 92 ancient stone tablets and the remnants of a palace. The palace was the biggest find. The team had known already they were excavating a city, but they didn't know its name or its scope. That didn't come until they were able to transcribe the cuneiform written on the tablets. The name of the city was inscribed on the tablets, which was extremely helpful. Mardamon was likely built between 2800 and 2650 BC. This city then reached its peak 1,000 years later, and it continued to flourish throughout the Neo-Assyrian period until around 612 BC. Over all those years, the city was attacked and destroyed repeatedly, so it was constantly being rebuilt. This was all thanks to the city's location in a central position on the trading routes between Mesopotamia, Anatolia, and Syria. Its strategic position ensured that it stayed alive up until the Mesopotamian kingdoms began to fragment and fall apart in the years before the birth of Christ. Excavations are still ongoing, and it appears to be one of the only archaeological sites in Iraq that hasn't been looted. And so, archaeologists are hopeful that the site could reveal ancient Assyrian treasures. Number 3. Old Ergant. Old Ergant was once one of the greatest cities in Central Asia. It was the wealthy capital of the little-known Khwarezm Empire. But in the Middle Ages, a series of disasters led the city to be abandoned, and it was largely destroyed. These days, only a few structures remain, such as the crumbling Torabeg Khanum Mausoleum. The city of Ergant was rediscovered in Turkmenistan, sandwiched between Uzbekistan and Iran. It was initially built at a crossroads where two busy caravan routes met. One of the routes moved between Persia and Russia, while the other connected China and the Byzantine Empire. In the 10th century, the Khwarezm Empire took control of the entire region, and the city continued to flourish. But then came the Mongol hordes led by none other than Genghis Khan. In 1221, the Khan of Khans burned the city to the ground and massacred everyone inside. Genghis then took it for himself and turned the city into an important trade center yet again. Then, 100 years later, the ruthless leader Amir Timur destroyed the city for a second time, and it was slowly abandoned. Only one building survives to this day, a tall tower that miraculously survived the attack by Genghis Khan over 800 years ago. Number 2. Chanhudaro. Chanhudaro is just one of over 2,800 sites directly connected to the ancient civilization of the Indus Valley in India and Pakistan. The archaeological site was originally inhabited around 4000 BC and may have been the only major city of the Indus Valley people without a walled citadel. But because of its location in the province of Sindh, it has been largely ignored by archaeologists. There were some excavations after its initial discovery, but not much has happened since. The crumbling ruins are collecting dust as they slowly erode, sitting in what is now a desert. However, this was a very different place 6,000 years ago. It wasn't a desert, but a lush landscape fueled by the Sarasvati River. The people of Chanhudaro enjoyed fresh water, and they had access to plenty of livestock. They also grew their own fresh annual crops. But then, in the 2nd millennium BC, the river dried up, making life for the inhabitants of Chanhudaro extremely difficult. The citizens suddenly had a very hard time feeding themselves, and their city rapidly declined. Hundreds of other settlements along the banks of the river also dried up and were abandoned. The mighty Indus Valley civilization soon died out. Number 1. Lost New Orleans. An amateur archaeologist believes he's found a lost city off the coast of New Orleans from 12,000 years ago. His name is George Giel, and he's a retired architect. He says granite stones have been uncovered over the past few years by fishermen near the Chandeleur Islands, which he believes is evidence of a lost civilization. George himself has visited the islands 44 times. scouring the land for signs of a lost city. George recently told CBS News that 12,000 years ago, somebody floated over 1 billion stones down the Mississippi River and assembled them outside of what is now the city of New Orleans. However, almost all evidence of that city is lost. George believes hidden under the water off the coast are the remnants of pyramids and other structures reminiscent of ancient Egypt. But just how much of George's theory could be true? Well, the truth is that fishermen have been pulling up unexplainable square blocks for the past 5 decades, but nobody knows how they ended up in the water. There are also the local shrimpers, such as Ricky Robin, who claims there's a peculiar magnetic phenomenon near the islands. Robin says the compass on his boat goes crazy when he gets close to the tip of what George claims is a submerged pyramid. There is no indisputable proof right now of a sunken city off the coast of New Orleans, but it definitely appears to be possible. Now we'll just have to wait and see what other archaeological evidence turns up over the next couple years, so stay tuned! Thanks for watching! Which of these lost cities do you think is the coolest? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you soon! Bye!